Hello.
Hello.
We are the Second Button Podcast. I'm Andrew, and this guy here is...
And I'm Brian.
And we're doing Season 2, Episode 12.
The finale
season. The finale, air quote, is called The Busboy.
The Busboy, yeah. It's the last episode of the season.
Yeah. But the airing date was June 26th of 1991. Mm-hmm. And Episode 11 was May 23rd. So it was over a month after Episode 11 when they put this on. So I don't know what happened there. Gulf War? I don't know. We'll have to look that up and figure that out.
Well, yeah, because it was some episodes in Season 1 that were like pushed back because of the war, right?
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if there's something else going on that...
Could be sports or something that pushed
maybe,
back?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It could have been. I don't even know if hockey went that long. Maybe anyway, we'll look it up. We'll let everyone know. Well, you guys look it up and let us know in the comments.
You're gonna say we're not gonna look it up.
Yeah, no, you look it up.
As soon as we're done recording this, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna forget about this next. And this was supposed to be Episode 3 of Season 2. So it kind of was like they held on for so long. Like even Jerry's apartment number reverts back to 3A.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, because it changed partway through to 5A, and then it reverts back to 3A. And
it does it in the middle of the season?
Yeah. They just changed They just changed the number.
Yeah.
And
it's 5A. Yeah.
On the DVDs, there's 13 episodes in Season 2. The Stranded, the one with Michael Chiklis, where they go to the party in Long Island and they can't get the ride home. At Season 3, Episode 10.
Oh, that was
recorded to be in Season 2.
I'll have to go watch that.
And that was a really good episode. Like I feel like
I'm actually going to do that after we record. I'm gonna go watch that and see if I can rummage through and find the DVDs and see if was it the same exact episode. They didn't reshoot it.
No, I don't think so. It looks like the same thing. So
definitely did. Once like George's dad first came in to the show, they had the episode where he's like they park. And then, the handicap spot and everything. And then the dad, he's like, what? Slaps George on the head. And it was like a different guy than Jerry Stiller.
Yes.
And I think they reshot it.
Yeah, they reshot the parts with Jerry to put Jerry into the show. And so,
and I think they didn't do that with Morty Seinfeld.
No, they just, I think that's the pilot was the only one with a different dad, wasn't it? Anyway.
I think so. Yeah, because it's definitely different. I think it's Season 3 is when the dad comes. But I believe on the DVD, Scott's Tots. That's a different show. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a million Office podcasts, so we probably won't need to do one of those.
The girls in the office do an Office podcast.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyways, so back to this episode. So, The Busboy, Season 2, Episode 12. Starts off with a stand-up bit. Jerry. It just definitely seems less like written joke format and more of him just like off-the-cuff riffing.
Yeah, just jumping around.
Which I like. I mean, it's funny. He's talking about not being a foodie.
I didn't know foodie wasn't. I didn't know it was a term back then. I thought it was an Instagram thing. I never knew it was like a Pinterest.
I know. I definitely have friends who only post. That's the joke. I'm like, did you post your lunch today on Instagram? My friends who do that. It's like, I only really care about posting food or, I don't post. I do very little posting on my personal shit on Instagram, which I'm like, I'm lurking all day.
And if anyone wants to tag Brian on Twitter, you can't. He has it set that you can't tag him apparently.
Yeah, I have that private. Yeah. I think my Instagram. The way I said that, I think my Instagram's private too.
But you keep busy on the tone jerks and the.
Yeah, I'm busy on tone jerks and second plane. Like, yeah. But anyways, so the term foodie, I heard that and I'm like, oh, that was a term back then too. So I guess it was like, it definitely means that kind of same thing. People who like trying out new restaurants.
I made a note of that. I didn't know this was a thing in 91.
Yeah. But I know now it's like your online persona is like, oh, what I post is who I am, Yeah. And so it's like foodies and stuff like that.
What you post is what you ate.
Yeah. It's like, I'm into food, I'm into beer and stuff like that. It seems like almost like kind of a foodie. I don't really, like I said, I have some friends. They're not super picky, but they like going to like, it needs to look nice. It needs to be something different, something hip, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
A restaurant, you know. And then, it seems like, you know, craft beer people, you know. It's like, you know, Jerry kind of goes into that. I'm like, I don't care about food. I just eat whatever. He's like, he's not picky. He's just fucking eat it kind of thing.
Yeah.
He also talks about how he doesn't care. He's like eating rolls off a cart in the hallway of a hotel. He's like, whatever. Why not? Like, they're gonna throw it away anyways. This is where he's like laughing and just kind of like at his own kind of joke and kind of like, what are they gonna like it's somebody's, you know, grand plan to poison a comedian on the road.
Yeah, 2:00 in the morning, walking by, grabbing a roll.
Yeah. You know, just like definitely freestyle. He's just kind of, you know, laughing. He keeps the jokes, the tags, and the punching up the joke, and people are like, he's going. He's laughing as he's doing it. Seems pretty natural. And then he goes about like, you know, picking a nice restaurant, and then when they bring you the check, it's in a nice like leather book. It's like, what is this? A story about somebody who is hungry? Like, that's and it's like, it has a little the tassel there. It's like, what, did I just graduate? Stuff like that. So it's funny. So anyways, it opens up with Elaine, George, and Jerry at a fancy looking restaurant. You know, George is kind of picking at his food in an unpleasant manner. And then he said he got the pesto. Like, why'd you get the pesto? I don't like pesto. People like pesto. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
it's like the new thing for me. Where was it 10 years ago?
Yeah. He's just going off. Everybody likes pesto. It's like, I don't like pesto.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just starts off with that. And then it's like he did it to force himself to be a pesto guy. Anyways, so they kind of like offer him, like, you know, casually offer him, like, oh, you can have some of my food because you're just unhappy with his choice. Anyway, so then it goes until like Jerry makes a comment about a guy across from him at the restaurant who's wearing a baseball cap indoors. And he's saying like, oh, the guy's got plugs. And then Elaine turns around in a sneaky way. Hey, sneaky.
Yeah.
And mentioning something. Oh, the painting back there. And she tells, yep, plugola.
So
the guy's wearing a baseball cap at a nice restaurant. So
if you're at a restaurant and your friend's like, look at the person behind you, what's your go-to? Do you just pretend you're looking at a painting on the wall, or do you
kind of do like something like that? You gotta like maybe do like your neck kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, okay.
I like knock a napkin on the floor and be like, oh, we gotta pick it up. Big scene trying to turn around.
I kind of do that. Like I'm like, oh, kind of cracking your neck, and you kind of look around, stretch. I'm like, oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then when you see someone cracking their neck in a restaurant, you're like, that person's checking me out.
The person's looking at something. This is yeah. So she's trying to like just make like, oh yeah. So I don't really know much about hat etiquette. I know that there's like certain things like wearing a hat indoors in like certain places, like when you come inside, like, you know, if you're wearing like fancier place, take the hat off. Or and then like if you're at dinner, you're supposed to take a hat off or whatever. And again, it's kind of like, I'm sure it's like outdated in certain places, and places that I go to, I've never really gone into anywhere that fancy. You know?
Chipotle doesn't care if you're wearing a hat.
Yeah.
I'll take it out. I'll take my hat off for doing like a sit down restaurant. I'll take my hat off when we're eating. And then sometimes like, Ashley will look at me and go, "Wait, put your hat back on."
Okay, yeah.
Big hat head.
Like I think I'll randomly do shit that is or isn't customary, like on accident. So I was like at a brew pub for like a friend's like, you know, B-day get together. It's, you know, casual like brew pub kind of thing. He's like, oh, he ended up getting like this big ass table, and I think he had dinner with his, you know, some of his family and friends were there, and he's like, oh, you can come by and just hang out for like a beer or two, you know. And there's, you know, friends of his, which he's a musician, so I know a lot of like the local musicians' friends that he had. And then we're sitting there just having a beer, having a hang. And then so I was sitting and talking, and then somebody that I knew came up to the group. And I don't know why I didn't think it was weird, but I stood up and like, oh, hey man, I haven't seen you forever, and shook his hand. He's like, why'd you stand up and make a scene? I'm not a woman. And then I'm like, are you supposed to greet women that way? And then I'm like, now I feel awkward. I'm like, I don't know. I just thought it was like, oh, a greeting. I'm like, I'm gonna stand up, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it feels weird when someone's standing up and you just reach your hand up. You're like, hello. You feel like a little kid.
Yeah,
because
because you're like that. And
walk across the street.
No, so I stood up and I'm like, hey, how's it going, man? Da, da, da. Even if you do like, one of those kind of things, I'm like,
Yeah.
Still, let's just stand up. If that guy's standing up, I'm not gonna be
yeah,
whatever. Anyway, so I'm like,
make a scene.
Yeah, so apparently made a scene, and I'm like, I don't know if you're supposed to stand up and greet women, and guys ignore, but whatever. I'm like, I also hold doors for everyone.
Yeah,
so I'm equal opportunity door holder. I don't mind that. Anyways, so back on the episode here. So Jerry mentions a tip to Elaine about his car. I'm like, let it warm up for a minute. And then George is kind of, he's in the back, like taking a big old forkful, leaning over of Elaine's pasta. And he's just like big old getting, rolling it onto his fork. And then he mentions about like, it's going to be a whole tough minute, long minute. It's like waiting in the shower for conditioner to work. He's just taking her food. And they said like he could have it. So I just think it's funny that he's just reaching over.
Yeah.
But the conditioner thing, I'm like, do you use conditioner in the shower?
I do. But I just kind of put the conditioner in, wash my armpits, and rinse it out. Like I'm not standing there just waiting for it to do its job.
34 years old, and I don't really know how long you're supposed to leave it in. Yeah. I'm like, so what I usually do is I'll put it in and then get to work on the other parts, scrubbing those down. And then by the time I'm like, okay, it's done its job at that point, wash it out. And then
sometimes I forget to wash it out. I get out of the shower and I'm like, oh God, I still got conditioner in my hair. Then I got to get back in the shower. That's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I really don't know what conditioner does.
Yeah.
It's just something.
Probably nothing. It's probably something that we buy. Corporate America makes us buy.
Yeah. Capitalism that got us again. God
making the
rich
richer.
Yeah. But it's something I've always like. I just never knew. And then I think, I don't know if it's supposed to be like, oh, what about like, the longer you leave it in, the better, it does. I'm like, what if you leave it in too long?
Leave it in all day.
Anyways, so Jerry then asks, why he couldn't take a cab. And then George, who's he,
Mm-hmm.
And then Jerry is happy to tease Elaine about her male house guest she's having stay with her. He's from Yakima. He's actually from Seattle. And then, I wonder if that is like a salsa seltzer kind of thing, where they just, Yakima was just a funny word to say.
Yeah.
Like it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they just threw it out there.
Is he from Yakima? He's from Seattle. I'm like, and then it moves on. And then I'm like, is it just like, oh, that's a funny city. Let's say that.
I wonder if they said it like they just took like 15 takes and that's the one that made it through.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. Move on. Yeah, that's what I wonder if it is too. Maybe, but they're like, it just flows, so keep that one in. And then, Jerry and Elaine say that she met a guy in town who was on business trip or business venture or something like that, and he shared an interpersonal experience. And George just dings a glass, and it's like a bell indicating it was sex.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't get is like, why is Jerry so casually talking about it, and he's so interested in Elaine and this guy?
Yeah, I know.
And again, it being
like,
out of order.
Into it.
It's out of order of the Deal episode where they wind up as a couple again, or they start sleeping. Him and Elaine start sleeping together. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So like,
I found that awkward as well. And I found George is way out of character in this episode as well, which we'll get to. But
yeah, it just didn't like. And then the fact that it's out of order too. Mm-hmm. God damn it, NBC.
I know, just air it the way they wanted you to see it.
They fucked that whole thing up. Like, so if you do watch it, you're like, there were a couple, and then back to now, Jerry's like, this guy, just, and then the fact that he's like, she says that she wants Jerry to explain it. Why?
Yeah.
Why would he know more information than her about this guy?
She should know more.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just kind of weird. But yeah, Jerry and Elaine, talk more about how they, Elaine went out with Ed several times, And then he mentions the Bennis tattoo doesn't wash off so easily. And then, Elaine comes right back on some people, looks at Jerry, and then George does, ooh, looks in Jerry's direction. Like,
Yeah.
you don't like Elaine. I'm like, it's weird.
It was an awkward conversation. It's like they were trying to do something that just didn't land.
Yeah, it just didn't land. Exactly.
The spaghetti didn't stick to the wall.
Yeah. The pesto pasta didn't stick.
Yeah.
So, the guy still, likes Elaine. Still, still thinking about her. Things are hot and heavy. So they play up they definitely play up the Jerry and Elaine thing a lot this season. Maybe the first season, whatever. It's like almost like they you can't, step off.
That was the pressure from NBC as well to make them.
I know. I think that's
so it just wasn't
what
working.
it was.
They were right to not do it. So.
But definitely you can tell season 3 they just get over it. Like,
yeah.
Okay, yep, they're friends, and it doesn't need to be brought up every conversation. But anyway, so the guy is gonna stay for a week. It was just gonna be a weekend, but turned into a week. It should be good times ahead. Elaine's like, oh, this will be fun. Keep that in mind later. So George and Jerry notice that at the table next to them, there's a menu. The paper menu has caught fire. So George runs over, tosses it on the ground, stomps it out. Seems like George may have lost some of that courage later on in the series.
Yeah.
For a fire. He had no problem running over and stomping it out. And he was calm, cool, collected.
Yeah, that was out of character for George.
Yeah, that little thing there. But, from the commotion, the manager comes over and, asks what happened. George says, like, oh, the busboy must have left the menu too close to the candle and it caught fire. And then Elaine jokingly says, I'm never eating here again. And then she, drinks her wine.
Oh, Jerry did mention too, he said, thank you. That ought to get us a free dessert.
So, yeah.
It's like George is the courageous thing and Jerry was like the cheap guy. They kind of switched roles.
Yeah. So
I was at a restaurant once and a woman started choking, a Chinese place. She started choking on an onion. Like they have like the big cubes of onion.
Yeah.
And her son was this great big guy and he's like trying to give her Heimlich, but he's like 4 times her size. I'm like, he's going to destroy that old woman. And I felt obligated to go help. So I went over, I helped her get it out, position her properly just so she can cough it out herself and stuff. And then later on, they came over with the bill. They said, are you the one that helped that woman that was choking? I went, yep. She goes, okay, here's your bill. And I was like, oh, I thought you were going to give me a free meal.
Yeah, nothing.
It felt like I was getting a free meal. I didn't get a free meal.
You are talking to a hero,
Yeah, I'm like, you realize.
you're at ease.
Yeah.
But no, they're like, oh, here's your bill, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Gratuity's been added.
Yeah. I doubled it.
Yeah. So they go and just sit back down, and they notice that the manager is pulling the busboy over, and he's getting talked to. Like, you can't hear what's going on, but the gang assumes that he's in trouble. That wasn't the intention. He's just explaining the situation. George wasn't trying to get the guy in trouble.
Yeah.
And then Elaine, was joking. And then both of them, manager and the busboy, point at George. Like, why would the manager point and single George out?
I know, you wouldn't say that person did it. You'd just say there's a fire and it was your fault. You wouldn't have to point out who said it was.
And why would he have a conversation on the floor in front of customers?
Yeah.
I get it. It's a TV show, but it's like, I am a manager in retail. You don't have conversations. Even in front of other employees, you don't have those conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I even had one time a customer was upset and then almost like wanted me to reprimand an associate in front of her. And I told the customer, I'm like, I'm going to talk to her, but I'm not doing it. She says, why don't you do it in front of me? I'm like, no, I will talk to her, but I'm not going to do that in front of you. She's like, why not? I'm like, because that's inappropriate. And then she looked at me like pissed. And then she's like, whatever. I'm like, think about what you're asking me to do.
Just out for blood.
Yeah, you want me to belittle somebody in front of you just to be like, yes,
yeah,
do it,
did
it. But it was funny when the customer realized, I'm like, you understand what you're asking me? And she's like, fine. It's just funny. Anyways, But George and Elaine, they instantly feel bad. Jerry doesn't care. He wasn't involved. So he's like, he's already out of it.
Yeah.
The bus boy was fired and he walks out. It's like visibly you can see what happened. Again, they feel bad and George is worried that the guy is going to jump him outside. He's like, he pointed me out. Blah, blah, blah. And Jerry's like, doesn't care. He just makes more jokes about it. He's like,
Yeah.
a lot of ex-cons become bus boys. Kind of a calling for them. He doesn't care. He's actually more concerned about trying the pesto.
Yeah.
So he leans over and gets some George style. Anyways, they didn't talk to the manager at any point.
No.
They could have.
George seemed very concerned that this guy's getting fired from it. Then he's like, "Yeah, I'm just finish."
But
my
you could
meal."
have went over while the busboy was getting talked to.
Yeah.
After the busboy walks out, at any time, never. Okay, no, they just didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I'm like, yeah, at any point you could have fucking said it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a story. Yeah. So, anyways, back at Jerry's house, we found out that the busboy, was indeed fired because of George and Elaine. Jerry's not too worried. He's a busboy. It's, not that hard of a job to get. Jerry's like, yeah, whatever. He's like, it's not really, what is it?
You have to embellish your resume and undergo a series of grueling interviews.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not lying on your resume and like going to get a busboy restaurant position.
Yeah.
And he's probably right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's comparable to like fast food or retail where you're like, it's such a quick turnaround and people are like, okay.
Yeah.
That is not a hard job, but
he'll
it's
find
like,
another job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not like he's blackballed from every restaurant in town.
Yeah.
You'll never get a job in this town again. Yeah. But, like Jerry, he knows about, or George makes comments like, yeah, like, busboys in the world of busboys. And George, talks about, it's like, I was a waiter at a fat camp. Those kids depended on me.
Yeah.
But George feels guilty about the whole thing. And then, but one thing I did notice is like, he should feel worse about putting ketchup on, looks like a turkey sandwich. That's what he's doing. I'm like, the fuck? He's already taken a bite out of the sandwich a little bit. He's talking, and then he grabs ketchup, and then he pickles out on the counter, and then he pours like ketchup on this turkey sandwich. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know. He's just never thought about ketchup going on anything but a burger, hot dog, maybe
Fries. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But think of a sandwich wise. Like, what sandwich would you put ketchup on?
You put on bologna, like a fried bologna sandwich. A little bit of mustard, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think
thought that was
turkey sandwich, I wouldn't think.
It's just something that I noticed. I'm like,
yeah.
Why is he putting ketchup on it? And he only puts like a little like dollop of it, and then he just doesn't spread it, just puts it back on the sandwich, and he's about to eat it. I'm like, what the fuck is that about?
It's just the mystery bite.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, and he, Jerry kind of comes back about like he knows busboys. He talks to him at the comedy clubs, and then George is like, well, you get him a job, at one of the comedy clubs. Then Jerry's like, I don't know the guy. He's not going to stick his neck out for him. It's like, what if he's one of those crazy guys that's on the street and he just pricks people with a pin? Just like, where that was so random. He's going around pricking people.
Kind of goes back to the poisoned roll in the hallway.
Yeah. That's what Jerry thinks people are like. The worst type of people. Just poke people with pins.
Yeah.
All right. Elaine comes in and she gives George the busboy's address. She couldn't get a phone number because it's been disconnected. And then she did her part. She felt like, hey, I did it. Yeah. And then she takes Jerry's keys and she's going to pick up Ed. Or they ask her, like, I think George asked, like, how she got it. And she's like, oh, she has charm or whatever. Does that mean anything to you guys? And no.
This was like a good Elaine character building. She felt really Elaine-y.
So. Yeah. But yeah, so George, he's going to go over to the busboys, place to apologize. Mm-hmm. And then Jerry can't go because he's got a gig, but he says he shouldn't go alone. And then Kramer comes in. He says Jerry suggests that he takes the K-Man. You can tell like George knows that Jerry's right about going alone, but he's really reluctant about bringing Kramer.
Yeah. He might not be the best one. And this might be one of the first. Like this is one of the first times that Kramer is in the story that's not in Jerry's apartment. He's outside, like he's at the laundromat and stuff, but we don't see him out as often as everyone else. So.
Yeah. Because he's the apartment guy.
Yeah.
But it's like George already knows that Kramer's gonna fuck things up. He's gonna fuck it up somehow, in some way, somehow. So already this season, so he broke the statue, fucking ruined the baby shower, had that loud band move above Jerry. It's like all this stuff. It's just because of Kramer, and so you can, not like there's any of those callbacks, but you can just think of like it's already established that Kramer's a fuck up.
Yeah.
And he's like incredulous too. It's like what? I didn't do anything. It's not my fault.
And they're at there, so don't say too much. What am I going to say? I'm not an idiot.
Yeah. So they both go to the apartment, and that's what George. He's like, try not to say too much. He's like, what? I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
We're cool. And he's like, okay. Yeah. George just bites his lip for sure. He's like, yeah, we're cool. George. So they're at the busboy's apartment. Like I said, they're in the hallway, and then they knock on the door, and then Kramer. He didn't answer right away, so Kramer just slams on the door. And the busboy opens it and lets him into his place. So George is trying to apologize, and the busboy is not talking at all. And then Kramer's kind of over his shoulder trying to chime in, make it better, but it's not. The guy's not talking at all. He's like a stone statue.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's a hell of a guy, Kramer. And he's like, como se dice waterbed? He's like just non sequiturs. It's like, how do you say waterbed in Spanish? So, and then Kramer asks for a glass of water because they're about to leave. And then Kramer's like, oh, let's extend this because I'm like, oh, I'm thirsty. I want some water.
Yeah.
George is like, fuck, hurry. It's so awkward. Let's go. Let's hurry up. And Kramer's like, oh, get the water real quick. It's like, so he asks, can I have water? Agua? And then the busboy starts looking around, a little frantic, and then he's speaking to himself in Spanish. And then Kramer, overhears and he understands Spanish a bit. He's like, his cat's missing. And then he goes to the door and yells that the door is open. He asks who left the door open. It was obviously one of them. So, and he asks them to help him look for the cat.
He looks really angry now. He was more angry about the cat than he was about his job, obviously.
Yeah, which I'm like, it's just more shit that they caused to fuck up this dude's life. But what I don't get is how far could that cat have gone? One, it wasn't that long. Yeah. In an apartment building. So it's like a building where it's like access to the apartments are inside. They're in a hallway. So like indoor hallway. It's like, where does that fucking cat go? It's like, oh, I'm going to go down the hallway and somebody's going to be like, oh, here's a cat. Let me open the door for the cat so you can go to the street.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that cat lives in Antonio's apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and then the cat would have had to just fucking book it.
Yeah. Just go.
Yeah. Just like, I need to fucking get on the street. It's just another like, little plot hole. I'm like, hopefully somebody got fired for that blunder. No. It's just not. It was just like, the cat couldn't have gotten fucking far. Anyways.
NBC, can you yell at that person in front of me, please?
Yeah. Can you get that person to yell at them? Are you insane? So, anyways, they get back to the apartment, catless, and the busboy is even more pissed. You can tell he's quiet.
Yeah. No
job, and no cat, and it's all because of this fucking guy, George.
Yeah.
And then Kramer tries to make small talk to break the tension and lighten the mood a bit. He's like, well, cats run away all the time. My aunt's cat ran away for 3 years. Just came back. You never know.
They know where they're from.
They know where they're from. Yeah. Unless someone starts feeding it, because that's where you got, they're not coming back because you have food.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, he's just not making it any better. So George is apologizing again to Antonio. He's sorry about the job. And then Kramer gets up and goes get some water. He's sorry about the cat. And then Kramer trips on a cord and a lamp falls over. He's like, sorry about the lamp.
Yeah.
Kramer like half-ass puts like the little broken piece of the lamp, just like places it back on the body.
He's like, did I?
Yeah. The base of the shade. He's like, yeah, that's good. So George gives him his card. He's in real estate. He's like, oh man, I may be able to help you find a nicer apartment in the future.
Yeah. So this is what I looked up too, because he said I'm in real estate. I'm like, didn't he? So in revenge, he quit the real estate job, but now he's in real estate.
Yeah.
So that shows that it's out of order again, right? Like,
that's so dumb.
yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Because when was Revenge? Was that one?
Episode
it was
7.
after this. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. This is fucking NBC. God damn it.
I think after this, once they get full seasons, I think they iron all that out.
Yeah. They're just like, okay, get out of here.
Yeah.
So the whole time Antonio is silent, not really even looking at George. Like he's just like staring.
Yeah. He's just too pissed
away from him. Like he's fuming. So they get up and leave. And then Kramer makes a point. He's like, oh, no, don't worry. I got the door. And as the door shuts, that little piece of the lamp falls to the ground. Yeah. Just kind of like everything they did made this guy's life worse.
And then they leave, it keeps going. Yeah.
Didn't help it at all. So back to Jerry's apartment. Jerry's on the phone with George. He's a little paranoid that Antonio's stalking him. He's like, how? He's like, you gave him your business card. Who told you to do that?
Exactly.
And then George asks, Kramer through Jerry when they're going to go look for the cat again. And then Kramer is like, well, it's been a week. It's up to the cat now. And then he's like, well, it's on your conscience, because it was like, how do you figure? Well, it was Kramer's fault because he was the last one in and didn't shut the door. It's like, yeah.
So why was I in charge of closing the door?
Yeah, it's because you were the last one in. This is all going through Jerry. Jerry's the repeating things back and forth. But George says to Kramer what Kramer says to George over the phone. He's like, just call him from your phone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Elaine comes in a hurry and wants Jerry's car keys. And he's like, what, no hello? And she asks for aspirin and wants to make sure that his car will get her and Ed to the airport. She explains that she needs him out of her life or she's going to kill him. Like the honeymoon stage for this little relationship is over. She explains he's a wonderful guy, but I hate his guts. Yeah, like a person can just annoy the shit out of you. I get it.
Yeah.
Like in a relationship, it can just end for no reason sometimes. Like you're like, I just don't want to be around you. And
this was like just a kind of a fling that turned into a week with them. And I think she realized pretty quickly, nope.
Yeah.
So.
I think it talked about it before, like on the episode where Jerry went on a trip with I can't remember where it was.
Up to the resort.
Like the separate faucets for the hot and the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how like those could be relationship killers.
Yeah.
When you're around somebody so much. So imagine like instead of a weekend, you're like together for a week and you realize like you're around them constantly. Like, oh boy, I am, done with you. But anyways, so Elaine's like, okay, need to get this guy out of here. And she explains like she wasn't sleeping with the guy. She just wants him out of his life. She's counting down the hours. Jerry's like, so did you guys, and they're like, no. The fact that Jerry would even ask that.
She's like, I pretend it was my period for the last 5 days.
Yeah. Asking like, oh, you this guy having sex? They're like, why does he care?
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. So, she's 14 hours to go. And she's got it all planned. She's got the flight. She's got the route planned. She got a new alarm clock. You sleep too late, a hand comes out and slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
Like she's got it planned out. She's like, the flight's at 10. She's waking up at 8. Gets him over there. Anyways. Then goes into a stand-up bit about flying. Kind of getting to the airport is the nervous part. Not really the plane, because the flight, if you miss it, that's it. Like there's no second option. And it's like, oh, and then he's like, what if there was a cannon that they could just shoot you into the general city, maybe even the general state where you're going, and then that's how another way you can, if you miss the flight, they could just like position you and just boom, launch you out of the cannon. It's like, oh, you go to Texas, all right, here we go. And it's like you land on a net. And he's like, oh, but you got to move quick because the luggage is coming after you.
Yeah.
Send him, and then you send your luggage. It's just like a kind of a funny bit.
Yeah,
I don't really fly that often, but the last time I flew, I was way too early.
Oh, really?
So I was like an hour and a half before the flight thinking, oh, because sometimes checking in and, with
security and everything.
Yeah. And I knew I was bringing some recording equipment, some cameras and stuff like that. You know, I didn't know if they were going to like...
A bunch of wires look like a bomb.
Yeah, camera and stuff like that. And cables and microphones. I'm sure they could just go through, which I'm like, okay, I'm just prepared for them to take everything out. They didn't really care. No. And then, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Got there and I'm like, yeah, whatever. So an hour, 20 minutes or whatever, hour and a half. Should be no problem. I was going with a buddy, so we were just hanging out. We'll just have a beer. That should be, good. Talk, catch up, And then the flight was delayed. So got there and it waited closer to 6 hours or more.
Oh, really?
Like, God, it's because of like snow in Texas. No goddamn snow, by the way.
I was like, does it snow in Texas?
Yeah, that's what they said. And of course, I think maybe it's a later Seinfeld bit or whatever. He's like, obviously you don't want them pushing to fly the plane if there's a problem with it.
Yeah,
just get in the air, fuck it.
Just go.
We'll figure it out in the air.
Yeah.
So it was like 5-6 hours or whatever of a delay, and this was before I had my Switch, Nintendo Switch, mind you. That would have been way better.
Yeah.
A fucking couple rounds of Mario Kart or Smash to pass the time.
A little bit of Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah, get the Joy-Cons, get the shit going. But no, he was. Anyways, so back to the Elaine and Ed. So they're at her apartment, and then you can see the clock in the background. It's 9:15. The flight's at 10 a.m. if you remember. So the hand for the alarm did not come out and smack her in the face.
Yeah.
She gets up in a hurry, and she wants this. Yeah, she's like, you already know she wants this guy fucking out of there. So she wakes his ass up and it's like, let's go. Hurriedly packs his shit for him, and he's just like a sloth, kind of just going slow mo. He doesn't like think they're gonna make it, so he's like, whatever, I just go tomorrow. And then she's like, no, he can't go tomorrow. And she's freaking out. She's not having it. She's got to get ready. He's like, well, I got to shower. He's like, no, can't shower, no time.
Yeah,
and he's
gotta go.
Yeah. He's looking slowly. Where's my brown sweater? And you can just tell this guy is. You only see him for like a couple minutes, and he's just annoying.
Yeah.
I need to. Where are you going? Slowly. I'm like, cashews. I had some cashews in the kitchen. Who fucking cares? You got your cashews. Get the hell out of my apartment. He's like, where's my brown sweater? I need my brown sweater. I'm like, fuck.
And why didn't he pack the night before?
Yes, that's one thing. A little note that I had. Why didn't he have his shit packed already?
Yeah.
And then the way he had his shit in her room, it was like he completely unpacked everything and then used her drawers for his clothes. So like everything was like unpacked out of your bag and put into her dresser.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. When I travel, I always keep all my shit in the suitcase, so it's always packed in there. I don't like spread out.
Yeah.
Like it's my house. I kind of always keep.
Then you're
gonna
forget something, right?
Yeah. Like even like I have a trash bag that I always bring for dirty clothes, and I just don't spread everything out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most places aren't going to be like, hey, here's a spare dresser that you can use for the week that you're here or 5 days that you're here. I'm like, no, unpack everything, put it in there. Anyways, so he's like, she's packing everything up, even packs his shoes. And he's like, I need my shoes. He's like, you don't need shoes. Shoes are just invented in the past couple hundred years.
Yeah. People walk around for thousands of years without them.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's gotta get him out of there. They leave that scene in a hurry.
Yeah.
So go back to Jerry's apartment, and then him and George are just having a bullshit conversation about how George knows the best bathroom anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
It's like they name some places, and then George's like, oh yeah, you could even mention my name, you'll get a key. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's like the 14th floor too, right? Like just
yeah. It's like very specific. It's like, what a flex. And then Elaine comes in. Hold on, I don't have a sneeze button. I feel like it's coming. No, missed it. Anyway, leave that in.
Yeah.
So, you like have a sneeze, and it's like, it's almost there.
And then it goes away. Then you're in the middle of a sentence, it just comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, I was going to come out.
It's like you felt like you missed your turn for something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I feel like I'm edging for a sneeze. I think there was I'm not a huge fan of him, but I remember Dane Cook, that guy.
Yeah.
Has that joke about like you're about to sneeze and it's almost like you're changing into like a werewolf. You're like, leave, get out of
I
here.
remember he was funny the first time I saw him, and then the second time I saw him,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't funny anymore.
I think the first one, he
got old quick. Yeah.
Maybe also I was like 12, and then
Yeah.
it was like his first like their half-hour Comedy Central thing. Maybe you're thinking the same one where he has like the spiky gelled hair, black
Yeah.
tank top,
Yeah.
kind of Jinko jeans. Anyways, well, probably sneeze at the very end. Anyways, so Elaine comes into the apartment as they're having the toilet talk, all disheveled. And they used a camera technique that I don't think they've ever used before, and they never use again in the series. So it's a camera on a dolly that pans over and zooms in to Elaine's face. She comes in like...
It was very dramatic.
Yes. I believe it's called a dolly zoom. So they use it in something similar to like in Jaws, Get Out of the Water scene. You know, the guy like zooms in. So it's something RJ, buddy of ours, Telly Talks, he mentioned it, that it's something that you could use with like a stabilizer zoom and a dolly. So you're zooming into the camera. So you're zooming into the subject as the foreground kind of changes, almost like, but you're almost, yeah. So almost like,
yeah.
It's supposed to build suspense. So anyways, it's just something that you notice. Like, they've never done that before.
No.
And they've never done it again.
Someone goes like, can I try something? Like, whatever.
Yeah. So they probably had a crane, you know, and a guy operating the cameras. Like, oh, I got an idea.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool technique or a pretty cool effect of how it looks. Because like you said, it builds like suspense and drama.
Yeah.
Which this kind of was. She's in awe of what just happened. She drives to the airport in a way that defies the laws of physics. She says, because she's trying to get there and get this guy the hell out of here. She's like anticipating 3 to 4 moves ahead. It's like I could see in the future kind of thing. Just kind of, and then she hit traffic, and there was a 5-car pileup
on Rockaway. The shortcut that she paid a cabbie $5 to hear a shortcut.
Yeah, I did mention that earlier.
Pileup, so they avoided it.
She wanted him out of there so bad that she was like, got a hot tip from a cab driver.
Yeah.
The best way to get to the airport. Yeah. But she missed her time to get him. And that numbskull is downstairs looking for a parking spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be one more day. But
now
so
the guy that she hates is parking Jerry's car.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, one more day. It's really not, but she's like fucking way over it.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kramer busts in to say that the busboy's coming. He buzzed him in. He's all excited. The busboy's coming. It's like, why?
He's all excited too. He's like, the busboy's coming.
And again, how does the busboy know where Kramer lives?
He doesn't have a phone.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, yeah. Another plot hole.
This is probably why I didn't go to the last episode. They're like, we can't do this. Andrew and Brian are going to tear this apart in 30 years.
So he's coming. The busboy's coming up, and George is panicking, and Jerry hasn't been and doesn't want to be involved this whole time. So he's like trying to shoot them out. It's like, you guys all know him, and so why don't you get out of here? Da, da, da. But Antonio quickly comes up and corners George in Jerry's kitchen. So he's looking at him. He's like, "Oh, hey, Antonio." He's all like
anxious.
He's all like shrinking. And then Antonio explains that at his old job there was a gas main explosion, killed 5 people in his section, including the guy who replaced him.
Yeah.
If it weren't for George's thoughtless, stupid, insensitive remarks, he would have died that night. So George saved his life. He hugs him. I think he believes he kisses him on the cheek. He's like the explosion would have killed him.
Yeah.
Because he would have been working. So, and then he says the explosion, must have scared the cat, because cat's back at Antonio's apartment, And while he was looking for Paquita, I don't think we ever said the cat's name. Paquita.
No. That's a drink, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The name of a drink. The cat's name is a drink.
Yeah. You know what it is?
No, I just saw it on IMDb. Like that was one of the facts.
Little tags. So while he was looking for Paquita, he found a job that pays him double. So everything is looking up for Antonio because of George.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is great. So it's a good moment, everything's, going well. So he says he has to go, and he mentions that today is the day that he starts his new and wonderful job. And he says, and he quote, "And I am very late." And he thanks them and leaves.
Yeah.
I texted you about this. I'm like, I never understood that line, and it always stood out to me. Like, why was it there? Why did he say he's like, "Oh, I start my job today, and I'm late." So, like,
I think I thought about it when I was watching it. I think he says I'm late so that we know that he's rushing, because when he gets to the hallway, we can't see him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that shows that he was rushing and then bumped into someone because he wasn't paying attention because he's trying to hurry out. Maybe.
Well, I was thinking maybe it's also like it wasn't only George's comment of how he got fired from that
like he
job.
lost the job anyway. Yeah.
Like he was constantly late or whatever, showing up late, missing shifts, and it's like maybe it wasn't all George's fault.
That's just the last straw.
It's just like, God, you're always fucking late. Okay, dude, come on, and you almost burn the place down. Get out of here. So, but anyway, so he says, he's, I'm leaving. I gotta go. I'm in a hurry. I'm late. And then George and Kramer shake hands, and they felt like they finally did good. They finally did one, and the audience, in the crowd cheers. It's like, oh, it's such a great moment.
That was not really a Seinfeld episode moment.
No,
at all.
Yeah. Like if it was about to end right there, so you can almost feel like this is great. Oh my God, the gang did good. The crew, they actually did well for somebody. All right, cool. But immediately you hear off camera Ed and Antonio arguing in the hallway. And then it's like, hey, you bump into me, pal. And he's like, watch you where you're going. Da, da, da. And then you can hear that Ed assaults him first.
Yeah.
Like, get your hands off me. Then they, shows that, I was watching with subtitles, and it's like it falls downstairs. So they fell down the stairs while they were fighting and arguing. And then the scene ends. So, like, of course, it can't just end on a good note, right?
No, exactly.
It can't, because it's Seinfeld. Something has to have happened to somebody. And I do like the end of the series, which we'll get to, but it's like all these people throughout the whole series comments, like they fuck over everybody.
Yeah, one after another.
That they come in contact with. Anyway, so at Monk's, starts off with like Jerry saying he'll get another job. He's a busboy. George mentions it. Well, it'll be a while, not until his cast comes off. It's like, yeah, it'll fall down the stairs. That'll do it. It's like, no, it's actually when he fell on him with his knee. And then George asks Elaine, so like, much longer? And it's like, what, till he leaves or till he can feed himself? So Ed is stuck at Elaine still.
Yeah, and George's like, I guess it's not important.
Yeah. And he talks about, it's like, oh, I got to leave. I got to go feed Paquita. She just goes if she waits too long, she just goes all over the place.
Yeah.
So now George is involved in hanging out with Antonio longer and taking care of the cat.
Yeah.
And George is still uninvolved and unattached to any of their problems. And it just kind of ends with, him like, how's it going? To the busboy at Monk's. Because he's just like, yeah, none of this is my problem. I don't care.
The whole episode was like that. Jerry had no story in this episode. Jerry was just the hub for all the stories. Yeah. And then we mentioned before they had the stories the separate stories come together. And I remember saying it didn't feel like it went well. This one did. Like they two separate stories. Jerry was the hub. And then at the end of it, they brought the stories together with the two fight in the hallway. And it just kind of, made it all one story somehow. So. Yeah.
And then, I mean, this wasn't a bad episode at all. No, but I mean, I guess we're still not done. So, ends with a stand-up bit of him talking about fighting. He's like, why do people fight? I don't get it. And he's like, and why is there boxing? It's like, you have two guys fighting that have no prior argument. You know, what they should do is they should have the boxers drive around and get in little cars and get into an accident and then duke it out. Like, you see my signal? Look at my fender. You know, then you'd have a fight. Like, it'd be more passion. You know.
Yeah.
So
Something
it's funny.
to fight about.
Yeah. Give them something to fight about. Are you into boxing or watching any like UFC or anything like that?
No, I've watched a few UFC events, but like probably 2. I was more of a wrestling guy, more of a scripted entertainment guy.
Do you still watch wrestling anymore? Or?
No, I'll check out some stuff on YouTube once in a while, but I don't watch it. Not that's like a weekly. I got to watch it tonight kind of thing. So
yeah, I never got into boxing or UFC or wrestling.
I think boxing I enjoy the most because it seems to me more of an art form, like more of a sport.
Yeah, and then I'm like I have no interest in any of that. And then wrestling too. I know there's a lot of people who are into it. You know, that seems to be a more readily and easily, I guess less now. I was thinking about like more acceptable thing for adults.
Yeah, I feel like wrestling was something you watched when you were a kid. And then like 15 to 20, it was like, it wasn't cool to watch wrestling. It's fake. And you're like, and then
now in your
and then after when
40s.
you're 20, you're like, I can watch wrestling, whatever. And you start watching it again.
Yeah, 30s and 40s. I have friends like, and a lot of them that are openly into like wrestling. And it's like, I'm like, there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's cool. That's okay. But anime? No? Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Sweaty men in tights, that's okay, but not cartoons because they're for kids.
Yeah, but I make that joke, but it's even anime. More adults are openly into it, and people are like, "Yeah, that's fine, it's cool."
Yeah,
who cares?
It's more accepted. You're accepted now.
Yeah,
you can be part of society.
I think there's it's even like Star Wars and Marvel movies that kind of kicked it off where everybody's like, "Yeah, that shit's fine. That's actually really good to be into that."
What's the thing? Like I had superhero shirts all along.
Yeah.
And then people were like, what's that? Is that a Batman shirt? Or like making fun of me for wearing comic book shirts. And then the Big Bang Theory came out and people were like, is that a Big Bang Theory shirt? I'm like, no, it's the Flash. Yeah, like the guy from Big Bang Theory. I'm like, oh my God, no. Like just
yeah.
Stupid.
It's like being into all that shit. It's like, it was like wrestling. It's like so many like adult, and then a lot of people like musicians and stuff like that. They're all openly into like wrestling and like, that's cool. And once a friend to say, yuck somebody else's yum. If they're into that. Fucking fine. You don't need to like not be into that, or you don't need to be into it with them. But anyways, so
if you're into us,
yes, let's bring it in for a landing here. Yeah, season 2, it's done.
Yeah,
it was.
I'm excited to get into season 3 and see more of a. Because I feel the first 2 seasons they just had to break the mold of a sitcom. And now they know what they want. Like they definitely know where they are now and where they want to go with it, kind of thing. So
yeah, they found their stride for sure.
Yeah, in
Seinfeld and with the actors and stuff like that. And immediately, I made a comment to you about like starting off like first a couple episodes of season 3. It's Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they definitely feel like it. And yeah, the 4 of the characters and then more people that get added into it. They're all. I think that's when we first see Newman. Since season 3, he has his debut.
They definitely branch out the cast a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it's like reoccurring characters and stuff like that. So yeah, excited. Season 2 ends. This is a good episode. It was actually really funny. It feels like a good episode.
Yeah,
but
it didn't feel like a finale.
No, it's out of order. See the deal was supposed. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But. Yeah, all right. If you do, like Andrew was saying, if you do like us, you can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, posting cool shit on the reg. And then we have a Twitter account. Let's do nothing over there, right? All right.
Once in a while I put something up, yeah.
But our YouTube channel, posting... I
like Jason Alexander's tweets on there. That's what all I do. Like, notice me. Yeah. And then our YouTube channel, doing video versions of the podcast. Maybe eventually we'll get into doing clips or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But, give us a follow, share us, let your friends that are into Seinfeld, let them know about us. And then, we'll see you in a couple weeks. We'll start in season 3, episode 1. So.
Yes. Goodbye now.
Bye.